Easter Sunday should smell like rosemary and mercy. At 6:45 p.m., the roast I'd basted since noon sat sweating on the platter while Daniel squared his shoulders like a TV sheriff. "Don't argue with my wife in her house," he said, loud enough for the cousins to hear. Her house. My throat went dry. I looked around the room I'd painted in 2001, soft eggshell to make evening light behave, and counted the bodies. 9 relatives, 3 folding chairs, and 1 woman, me, suddenly trespassing in her own living room. Lisa folded a napkin like a flag and didn't look at me. The cousins froze over the potato salad. Somewhere, the ice machine clattered like nervous teeth. I don't shout. I document. The microwave read 6:47. Daniel's cuff wore a dribble of gravy. The air held a clean sting of bleach that didn't belong to my sink. And earlier, when I brought in rolls from the car, I saw it. A new keypad on the front door, glossy black where brass used to be. I'd pressed 1 to 998, the year I signed the deed, just to be sure. The pad blinked red once. I told myself I'd hit the wrong number. Or maybe the house was already learning a new language. "Her house?" I said, keeping my voice low. "Who paid the April taxes, Daniel?" He didn't blink. "Mom, please don't start." Lisa finally looked up. "We just want peace, Gloria." My name came out flat, like a bill she meant to pay later. "You want peace," I said, "and I want facts." "I have the documents," Lisa said too quickly. "You signed back in February." Subscribe to our channel. This helps our work reach more people. If shame has a temperature, mine was a stovetop simmer. I bought this house in 1998 with an envelope of cashier's checks and hope. I shoveled snow off that porch, patched the roof, and wrote $3,276 to the county every April, even after the mortgage died last winter. And now, my son was guard-dogging the threshold like I was a stranger who'd tracked mud on new tile. A little cousin whispered, "Auntie G, is dinner canceled?" I steadied my hand on a chair. Nobody cancels Easter in my kitchen. When we bowed our heads for grace, Lisa's cream tote drooped off her chair. An envelope slid out and kissed the floor by my shoe. Only once, like a coin you're not meant to pick up. Notary ink leaves a particular shine. My eyes know that language. The stamp read, Feb 14, 2024, 4:12 p.m. Valentine's Day. The corner of a signature peeked above the flap, a G with a loop too small to be mine. I set the envelope back where it fell. Once is enough to be a clue, twice would be a trick. After dessert, the cousins fled to the yard. I washed plates, dried hands, opened the kitchen drawer where I keep the old spiral notebook. Dates on the left, amounts on the right. I wrote, Easter, Mar 31, 6:45, 8:10 p.m. Her house. Front keypad blink red, notary envelope, 2:14, 4:12 p.m. If you've ever chosen yourself over family, type me. Outside, I took the trash to the bin and tried the back door code again. Once, careful. The keypad blinked red twice, as if correcting me. So whose birthday did they teach my door to remember? Monday smelled like wet tulips and trash day. At the county office, a clerk slid me a pamphlet. Property transfer audits, 10-day review window. I had until April 10, 2024 to file a challenge. My bones don't like deadlines, but my spine does. Back at the porch, I typed 1998. The keypad blinked red. I tried the last 4 of my social like a fool. Red again. I breathed, pulled out my brass key, the one that's lived on my ring since Clinton's second term, slid it in. The cylinder caught and scraped, then turned. The door opened on a hesitation, not a welcome. Lisa stood in the hall with that careful smile that doesn't touch the cheeks. Gloria, text before you come by. Boundaries. Boundaries, I repeated, eyeing the keypad. Temporary change? Safety measure, she said. You've been forgetful. I remember April, I said. April remembers me too, especially when I send $3,276 to the county. I stepped past her into my kitchen. The console table held a tidy stack of mail. The cream envelope from last night was gone, not dropped, not dangling. Learned behavior. Daniel padded in, sock-footed, pretending to be late for something besides courage. Mom, we'll talk tonight. Good, I said. Let's talk now. I laid the county pamphlet on the counter. 10 days. Lisa held a white binder half closed, tabs peeking like frostbite. Safety, finances, housing, but she didn't open it. You signed a quitclaim in February, she said, eyes steady. Let's not stress. Where's the notary's journal entry? I asked. They log IDs. She blinked. At the UPS, she caught herself. At the notary office downtown. Which one? I said, already reaching for my phone. She placed her hand on the binder. Daniel will handle this. Daniel's voice softened to the same register he used at 12. Mom, please, we love you. Let it go. There it was, the first small loss that stings more than bleeds. Not the key, not the code, but my boy's mouth forming somebody else's sentences. I put the pamphlet down and breathed. You'll both come to the county recorder with me this afternoon. I have Pilates, Lisa said. And I have work, Daniel added, which would have been news if I hadn't kept his W-2s in a fireproof box for a decade. Then I'll go, I said, and I'll bring back paper with ink thicker than your excuses. On my way out, the mailbox held a flyer from Mount Olive, April 7th, 5 p.m. Potluck, silent auction, home is where faith lives. Fitting. The plate on the box read nothing at all. My name had been peeled off sometime between church and morning. I pocketed the sticky ghost of it. You learn to collect lies like receipts. By noon, I was at the UPS on Hollins. The manager said, Our notary's gone. We keep the journal. Opens at noon. She used to sit noon to 4. I checked my watch. I could wait. Printers hummed, boxes thumped, minutes clicked. I counted them the way older women count pills, precisely. At 4:12 p.m., the notary chair sat occupied by a man in a baseball cap, whispering to the clerk over a folder while he tapped a pen like a metronome for other people's signatures. I didn't know his name yet, but the rhythm of that tapping sounded exactly like a lie trying to learn my looped G. I keep my receipts in a cedar chest older than Daniel. That morning, before the county office opened, I pulled it from under the bed and found the folder marked House 1998. The air that came out smelled like paint and perseverance. Inside, a mortgage deed smudged with printer ink, a check stub from April 15th, 1999, 8825, and a drawing Daniel made at 10, me in front of a boxy house with the caption, Mommy's Castle. That word, castle, used to mean safety. Now it meant siege. By 10, I was at the county recorder. The clerk behind the glass, badge reading Sherry, senior desk, looked at me the way bureaucrats look at quiet women. They think you're harmless until your folder opens. I need to confirm a deed transfer, I said. Recorded February 15th, 2024, 117 Harper Street. She typed, eyes narrowing. Yes, ma'am, transfer logged. Deed number 1182B. Printed. The printer hummed. When she slid the paper under the glass, the first thing I saw was my name. Looped wrong again. My G doesn't close tight. This one strangled itself, and the seal, oval, notary number mismatched. That's not my signature, I said. Stamp reads Cortez, Sherry murmured. But our sample stamp's circular. Odd. Do you have the journal reference? Not without subpoena. Then I'll bring you one, I said, folding the printout into my folder. When I got home, Daniel's car was in the drive. He was hauling boxes from the garage. I watched him through the window, efficient, distant. One was labeled pantry. Donate. Daniel? I stepped onto the porch. He turned, startled. Mom, hey, we're just decluttering. Lisa thinks a lot lately, I said, including what my signature looks like. He flinched. She didn't mean harm. Intent doesn't wash ink, I said. He shifted the box between his hands. Look, Mom, this house, it's too big for you. We just want to help. I can dust the corners, I said. Don't clean me out of my own walls. He sighed. You're twisting everything. Am I? I held up the deed copy. Then explain why this says you and Lisa own 117 Harper. His jaw tightened. We'll figure it out. Not we, Daniel. Me. He carried the box inside. The door almost closed on my words. The new keypad blinked red when I tried to follow. That night in bed, I replayed the G in my head. The wrong loop, the strangled curve. People think handwriting fades with age. Mine got sharper. I wrote in the spiral notebook, Mar 31, her house, Upper 1. Keypad, blink red, Upper 2. Deed copy oval seal, I underlined oval twice. And then, below it, I wrote a date no one could erase. 1998, never signed off. At midnight, a noise downstairs, the shuffle of boxes, a quiet thud, the sound of drawers. When I stepped into the hallway, the light from the keypad glowed red against the wall like a heartbeat that didn't belong to me. Saturday morning, I woke to sunlight that felt suspiciously cheerful. On the console table by the front door, a cream envelope sat neatly, sealed with red wax. The handwriting on the front, mine or something pretending to be, read, County Clerk, Attention, Deed Transfer Department. Lisa's idea of subtlety. She wanted me to see it, like a magician leaving props just visible enough to distract. I left it where it was. Instead, I made coffee, checked the time, 9:00 a.m., then dialed the UPS store on Hollins Avenue. "Ma'am," said the clerk, "our notary R. Cortez resigned last month. Her license expired March 1st. Any documents before then are valid. After that, well, they're smoke. Do you keep her journal?" "We do. Locked cabinet. Manager can show it to law enforcement if requested." "Then I'll make that request," I said, and hung up. I didn't call the police. Yet. The smart move was patience. The deceit was still ripening. At noon, Daniel appeared at the door with that hesitant knock sons use when they know they're walking into their own history. "Mom, Lisa wants to talk. Peace offering. Bring her." Lisa entered with a white binder, smile like sugar glass, sweet until it cuts. "We're thinking ahead," she said, opening tabs labeled Safety, Finances, Medical. "This is just planning." "You planned the new keypad?" I asked. "Temporary," she said quickly. "For security." "Whose?" Silence. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "Mom, look, can we start fresh? Maybe downsize? Downsize the house or my memory?" He looked away. Lisa pushed the binder toward me. "If you sign here, we can simplify bills. Daniel will handle taxes, maintenance." "Taxes," I interrupted. "I've paid every April 15 for 26 years. You ever seen a late notice?" She blinked. "This isn't about blame." "Oh, it is," I said, closing the binder. "You just don't want your fingerprints on it." She exhaled sharply. "We'll talk Sunday, at church." "Perfect," I said. "There'll be witnesses." Her eyes flicked toward Daniel, a signal. He hesitated, then stood. "Mom, please just rest." "I'll rest when the house does," I said, "and lately it's been changing locks in its sleep." They left. The silence after a lie always sounds cleaner than it should. At 4 p.m., curiosity won. I opened the red-sealed envelope with a butter knife. Inside, 3 typed pages. Statement of incapacity, power of attorney, and a note scribbled in Lisa's handwriting. "Dr. Benning will sign off Monday." Dr. Benning retired last year. That's when I laughed, quietly, the way old women laugh when they stop being scared. I put the papers back and sealed the envelope with clear tape, not wax. When Daniel came home that night, I was sitting on the porch. "Tell Lisa to check her spelling before she forges again," I said. "She misspelled Benning." He froze. "You opened it?" "Boundaries," I said softly. "Remember?" He turned away, mumbling something I didn't need to hear. I stayed on the porch long after his car lights vanished. The keypad blinked faintly in the dark. Red, pause, red. A code even I could read now. Someone was teaching my house to forget me. But I was already learning the new language of proof. Friday morning, rain stitched silver threads through the street. I left early, umbrella in one hand, folder in the other. The First Federal Branch on Wilkins Avenue still smelled like cleaner and last year's money. The teller recognized me. "Morning, Ms. Gibson," she said. "Tax season again?" "Always," I replied, sliding a photocopy of a bank slip across the counter. "Could you tell me if this routing stamp, 073119 Hollins Branch, would ever appear on a Wilkins transaction?" She frowned. "No, ma'am. Routing stamps are location-specific. If it says Wilkins but stamped Hollins, that's inconsistent." "Thank you," I said. Inconsistency's the mother of proof. Outside, the rain made the asphalt shine like wet receipts. Across the street stood Mount Olive Church, its sign advertising the potluck on April 7th. Two women waved from the portico. One, Sister May, clutched a foil pan. "Gloria," she called. "Lisa stopped by yesterday, said you were getting help moving to Sunvale. We're praying for you." "Keep those prayers warm," I said evenly. "She might need them sooner." May's face softened. "Oh, honey, I'm fine," I said. "Just settling accounts." Back home, I found my name missing from the mailbox again, scraped clean this time, adhesive still tacky. I pressed my fingertip to it and felt the rough outline of absence. Inside the box, a new county notice waited. Property tax. Due April 15th, 3,276 torn printed in thick red. A number that always tells the truth. I placed it inside the blue folder, which had grown heavy enough to dent the table. By evening, Daniel texted, "Dinner? 7:30, just us." At 7:41, the keypad blinked green. He'd opened it for me. He looked tired, jaw tight. "Mom," he said softly, "Lisa thinks you're planning something." "I am," I said. "Clarity." "She's just scared," he said. "She said you called her a thief." "I didn't call her one," I said, taking off my coat. "I'm proving she is one." He ran his hands through his hair. "You're making this worse." "For whom?" I asked. "The truth?" He sighed. "You can't fight everyone." "I don't. I document the ones who pick fights and call it family." He looked at the table, then at me. "Mom, maybe it's time to let me handle your paperwork." "Paperwork?" I repeated. "You mean my deed?" He didn't answer. "Daniel," I said softly, "when people start using paperwork as a synonym for love, something's already signed in blood." The room fell quiet. He reached for his coat. "I'll see you at church Sunday." "I'll be there," I said. "So will my folder." He froze at the door. "You're not going to make a scene?" "I don't make scenes," I said. "I make records." He left, and as the door clicked shut, the keypad light turned from green to red again. From outside, I heard a car idling longer than it should have, the low hum of Lisa's SUV, and a flash in the passenger window. Someone handing something small and metallic across the seat. It caught the porch light like a mirror. Later, I wrote in my spiral notebook, April 5th, red light again, SUV, passenger handoff, possibly USB drive. Even guesses have timestamps. Saturday began with the lie people call reconciliation. I texted both of them. "Dinner tonight, no papers, just talk." Lisa responded first. That empty, modern amen. Daniel followed. "We'll come." I cooked lemon chicken, collards with smoked turkey, cornbread. I set the table for 3, placemats aligned, forks catching light like truth waiting its turn. The blue folder I tucked beneath a dish towel on the sideboard. Tonight was for observing, not striking. At 6:12, the keypad chimed green. Daniel came in first, head bowed. Lisa followed, binder in hand though she'd promised none. "You said no papers," I said. "This isn't legal," she said smoothly. "It's a care plan." Paper is paper, I thought. The lies just wear different fonts. We ate. Daniel murmured compliments about the collards. Lisa chewed quietly, smiling as if grace were something she could mime. After dinner, she opened the binder. "Gloria," she said, voice dripping compassion, "we want you comfortable. Sunvale has a studio ready, April 15th, near church, on-site staff, medication support. We'll handle the bills." I swallowed my tea. "Bills I've paid for 26 years? "Things change," she said. "You're getting older." "So is my patience," I said. Daniel rubbed his temple. "Mom, don't start. We're trying to help." "Help tastes different from control," I said. Lisa turned another tab, finances. "If you'd just sign this temporary power of attorney, Daniel can manage taxes and—" "Taxes are the one thing I never misplace," I said. "You ever seen me late in April?" She faltered. "It's just planning." "Funny," I said. "Planning looks a lot like replacement these days." The silence that followed was thicker than gravy. Finally, Daniel said quietly, "Mom, what if we just took a break from each other?" I smiled thinly. I've survived longer absences from truth than from company. Lisa closed the binder. Then we'll talk Sunday. Pastor can mediate. Perfect, I said. The camera will already be rolling. Her eyes flicked up. What camera? The church live stream, I said. 4:12 p.m. last February, I was in that shot. Remember? Her fork clattered against the plate. What are you talking about? Nothing you can fix with another binder. She stood so fast her chair tipped. If you won't cooperate, you'll regret this. Daniel whispered, Lisa. She spun on him. You said she'd sign. His silence told me everything I needed to know about who had promised what. They left in a gust of perfume and accusation. I waited until their car was gone, then walked to the porch. The porch light flickered once, red, then steady white, as if the house itself was exhaling. I checked the driveway. A single flash drive glinted on the gravel where they'd parked, half buried, maybe dropped in haste. I bent slowly, pocketed it. Back inside, I logged the time in my notebook. April 6th, 8:57 p.m. USB recovered from driveway. Label scratched off. Then I wrote one more line under it, in capital letters. Tomorrow, Mount Olive. Evidence eats first. Sunday morning woke soft and treacherous. I'd barely slept. The flash drive sat on my kitchen table like a silent dare. I hadn't opened it yet. I knew timing was everything. Some proofs spoil if you serve them cold. I had plans. The county recorder opened at 9, and I meant to be waiting when the doors did. I carried my blue folder like armor, wore my best gray coat, the one I'd bought for Daniel's graduation. Proof, even when you're tired, deserves presentation. At 9:07, I took a number, sat beneath the fluorescent hum, and waited. Ms. Gibson, the clerk called. Not Sherry this time. Younger, distracted, chewing gum like a clock. You're here about 117 Harper? Yes, I need the notary entry for the Feb 15 transfer. She clicked her tongue. That's restricted until audit completes. 10 business days. 10 business days? I said. My review window closes in 4. Then you'll need an attorney, she said, sliding a Next Steps leaflet across the counter, the kind printed to make ordinary people give up. I folded it neatly and put it in my folder. Thank you. You've been helpful in the way only paper can be. Outside, the sky threatened rain. My umbrella clicked open like punctuation. I turned the corner and froze. A moving truck was parked in front of 117 Harper. 2 men in gray shirts were loading boxes labeled basement, pantry, linens. My handwriting on those boxes, I'd marked them years ago after Daniel's last breakup, when he and Lisa temporarily moved in. Excuse me, I said. Where are you taking those? Delivery order, one man said. Sunvale Assisted Living, apartment 2B. I laughed, that dangerous, quiet kind of laugh. And who signed for pickup? He checked the clipboard. Lisa Miller. She doesn't live here, I said. She said she did. The keypad on the door blinked green when she appeared. It's fine, fellas, she's just... Lisa stopped when she saw my face. You've got nerve, I said. Gloria, please. Let's not do this in public. Public's the only place you can't rearrange the facts, I said. Daniel appeared behind her, eyes bloodshot. Mom, please, let them finish. We'll talk inside. I tried the step, but when I reached for the door, my key didn't fit. The lock had been replaced. Daniel, I said softly, did you change the locks? He didn't answer. You locked me out of my own house. It's temporary, he said, voice trembling. For your safety. Safety from what? I asked. Paperwork? Lisa's tone turned syrupy. You're making this harder, Gloria. I intend to, I said. I turned to the movers. Leave the boxes. She doesn't have a legal claim. You'll be contacted by the police if you take another one of my things. They hesitated, then looked at Daniel. His silence was its own signature. I walked down the steps, slow and deliberate, the rain starting to spot my coat. When I reached the sidewalk, I turned back once. Lisa was standing in the doorway, my doorway, looking triumphant, but only from the neck up. Her hands shook. At the curb, I wrote in my notebook, Upper 7, locked out, new locks installed, boxes labeled Sunvale, Daniel silent. When I looked up again, a car slowed at the corner. Sister May's sedan. She rolled down her window. You heading to church, Gloria? I nodded. I never missed the part where God takes attendance. The church smelled of starch, flowers, and secrets. Everyone knew the fundraiser started at 5, but I arrived at 3, early enough to talk to Pastor Harris before the crowd came. He met me at the back hall, wiping his hands on a dish towel. Sister Gloria, you're early. Pastor, I need a favor. Do you still have recordings from February 14th, the Valentine's choir practice? He blinked. Of course. We archive every live stream. Could you pull the segment from 4:10 to 4:45 p.m.? He smiled. That was the night you wore that blue dress. The alto section sounded fine. That's the one, I said. He nodded toward his office. Give me 10 minutes. I waited, listening to the choir rehearse. The notes bounced off the fellowship hall walls, voices too pure for the sins they floated over. When he returned, he handed me a flash drive. Here's your copy, time-stamped. Thank you, Pastor. You planning to relive it or prove it? He asked, gently. Both, I said. At 4:20, I crossed the street to the UPS store. The same clerk as before recognized me. Ma'am, back again? Yes. I'm looking for the notary journal from February 14th. I was told it's archived. He sighed, glanced around, then reached for a black ledger under the counter. Officially, I can't show you this. Unofficially? I asked. Unofficially, it's on the counter for inventory. He flipped pages until the handwriting turned to R. Cortez. Line 43, Gloria Gibson, 117 Harper Street, ID for 5428619, MD license. I frowned. That's not my license number. He flipped again. Line 44, Lisa M. Miller, 117 Harper Street, same timestamp, 4:12 p.m. Can I get a copy? I asked. He hesitated, then shrugged. If it just happens to fall into your folder while I step away. He stepped away. I slipped the duplicate sheet in, heart beating steady, not fast. Walking out, I passed a young man with a baseball cap low over his face. He held the door, polite. His voice, a quiet ma'am, scratched something in my memory. Thanksgiving, 2022. Daniel carving turkey too thick, Lisa laughing too loud, and that same cousin, Marcus, pouring wine he hadn't paid for. Same cap, same slouch. I didn't turn. I didn't run. I just walked to the curb, the blue folder pressed to my chest like a hymn book. The streetlight flicked on early. I looked up and whispered, 4:12 p.m., even God's clock keeps receipts. At home, I opened my old laptop and plugged in the USB I'd found in the driveway the night before. Inside, a single folder. Harper transfer. Documents, scans, and one audio file. Lisa's voice, bright and careless. Don't worry, he'll never check. His mom thinks Easter means forgiveness. I sat back, closed my eyes, and smiled. Not happy, not angry, just certain. Tomorrow at Mount Olive, she'd stand smiling under church lights. And I'd let the truth sing louder than the choir. By Sunday noon, the air felt like it had a paperclip on it. I laid everything out on the dining table in military rows. 1. County deed copy with the wrong oval seal. 2. UPS notary log duplicate, line 43 with a license number that isn't mine. Line 44 with Lisa M. Miller stamped beside my address, both at 4:12 p.m. 3. Tax bill, $3,276 due April 15. 4. Church live stream clip. Pastor Harris pulled, me in a blue dress at 4:12:27 p.m., clapping on the 2 and 4. 5. Bank stamp photo, Holland's code on a Wilkins document. 6. Audio file from the driveway USB, Lisa's voice, bright as a broken bottle. I stacked them into the blue folder until the hinge groaned. Paper makes a different sound when it becomes a spine. Have you been through something similar? Tell us your story in the comments below. We read every comment. It's important for us to know we're not alone. Daniel texted, "Talk before church? Alone." I replied, "My door is open. Come as my son, not as anyone's handler." He arrived looking like sleep owed him money. I gestured to the table. "Sit." "Mom," he said, "Lisa's a mess. She says you're going to humiliate her tonight." "I don't humiliate," I said. "I verify." He rubbed his jaw. "She told me you agreed to transfer the house as a tax strategy, that we'd streamline things. I didn't check. Because you wanted love to be math you didn't have to show your work on. I opened the folder, turned the laptop so he could see the live stream timestamp, then the notary log, then the bank stamp photo. I saved the audio for last. He listened, color leaving his face like he was standing up too fast. When it ended, he whispered, "She said, Easter means forgiveness." "I forgive after receipts," I said. He swallowed. "Please don't do this in front of everyone." "I already did it in front of no one for weeks," I said gently. "Privacy didn't stop the theft. Witnesses might." He stared at his hands. "I thought I was protecting you." "You were protecting your comfort," I said. "Grown men know the difference." He lifted his eyes, wet. "What do you want me to do?" "Stand beside the truth when it stands up," I said. "Or step out of its way." He nodded once. It looked like surrender, and maybe like beginning. At 4:30, I locked the folder, slipped it under my arm, and walked to Mount Olive. The banner over the fellowship hall read, "Home is where faith lives." I almost laughed. Sometimes God writes captions for you. Sister May hugged me tight enough to test my ribs. "You look ready." "I am," I said. And so is the clock. When the first hymn ended and the raffle box rattled, I felt Daniel's gaze from across the room, alive, frightened, searching for the place his spine was kept. And I knew the microphone would feel like a key in my hand. At 5:32, Pastor Harris tapped the microphone. "Before the raffle, Sister Gloria has a word on home." The live stream light blinked red in the corner, a small, obedient witness. I walked up slow, the blue folder warm against my side. "Thank you, Pastor." I faced the room. Ladles paused mid-scoop, children crinkling foil, adults doing that stillness that means they expect a prayer and fear a confession. "Home," I said, "isn't a feeling. It's the handwriting on your deed, the date on your tax bill, the stamp that tells you where a paper has been. At my age, I don't shout, I document." A ripple of chuckles, then hush. "Someone used my name without my presence," I continued. "Filed a deed on February 15th with a notary stamp that doesn't match the registrar's sample. At 4:12 p.m. that day, a journal line says Gloria Gibson presented an ID number I've never owned. I clicked the projector Pastor had cued. Split screen. On the left, the UPS log entries for lines 43 and 44. On the right, the church live stream. Me in blue at 4:12:27, clapping, singing, alive in two places, only one of which has a soul. A murmur rose, then quieted itself. "Here," I said, laying out the tax bill beside the bank stamp photo. "Holland's ink on a Wilkins claim. Geography has rules." Lisa stood from the third row, pearls tight at her throat. "This is out of context." "Pick your context," I said. "The camera keeps all of them." I nodded toward the livestream unit, its red eye unblinking. Her cousin, Marcus, cap jammed low, went rigid near the back. He took a step for the door. The usher, retired sheriff, took a step faster. I didn't raise my voice. "This folder holds timestamps, license numbers, and a recording I wish I'd never had to hear." I slid the USB into the church laptop. Lisa's voice filled the room. "Don't worry, he'll never check. His mom thinks Easter means forgiveness." No one moved. Even the aluminum foil seemed to stop breathing. I closed the folder. "I'm not asking anyone to take sides between family," I said. "I'm asking you to stand on the side where the ink dries true." Pastor Harris cleared his throat, voice pastoral and fierce. "We will assist the county with any footage requested." Lisa's mouth opened and closed, a fish without water. Daniel stood halfway up, then fully, and didn't sit again. I stepped down from the pulpit. The folder was lighter now. Truth had shifted its own weight onto the room. At the door, I turned once more. "If you've ever been told to be quiet in the house you built, bring a pen." And as the livestream light blinked red, 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 I watched Lisa reach for Daniel's hand and miss. The fundraiser ended with paper plates and silence. By 9:06 p.m., my house smelled like dish soap and the end of pretending. Daniel texted, "Just me." 10 minutes? I unlocked the door and set 2 mugs on the counter. Coffee, black and honest. He came in slower than weather. "Mom," he said, not sitting. "You." You didn't have to do it there. Injustice loves privacy, I said. Truth needs a room. He stared at the blue folder on the table like it might bite. Lisa left, he said finally. Packed a bag. Her cousin took her to her sister's. Cousin's name is Marcus, I said. Baseball cap and a timestamp. He winced. The county called already. They want statements. Give them one, I said. Use nouns and dates. He exhaled. I didn't know about the deed. You knew enough to change a lock and call it safety, I said. Soft, but not kind. You knew where the keypad code came from and why my mailbox forgot my name. His eyes brimmed. She said it was a care plan. She said you were slipping, that this would keep you safe. I wanted to believe her. I didn't check the math. At my age, I don't shout. I document, I said. You're 34. Start documenting. He sat. The chair creaked like confession. What happens now? Monday, April 8th. The county holds a preliminary administrative review. Not a verdict. A pause. We ask for a stay of transfer pending investigation. I tapped the folder. I'll bring the notary log copy, the bank stamp photo, the church clip, and your statement. He swallowed. My statement. Tell them what you changed and why. Say who told you I signed. Say when you saw the boxes labeled Sunvale. He nodded, shame moving through his face like a slow tide. I'll do it. I slid a small index card across the table, my handwriting neat. APAR 8, 10 a.m. Harper District Office, Room B, bring ID, phone, no speeches. Answer only what's asked. He studied it like a prayer. Mom, His voice cracked. I wanted a simpler life. Simple isn't allowed when people start forging, I said. You can have quiet after. He looked at the wall where family photos used to hang. Do I fit back there someday? Photos are proof of who you were when the shutter clicked, I said. Be worth a new one. He nodded, stood, then paused at the door. If they ask about the USB, how did you get it? It fell out of a lie, I said. I picked it up. He half smiled. Grief, learning manners. I'll see you at 10. Come early, I said. Paper likes punctual people. He left. The house settled. I rinsed the mugs and wrote in my spiral notebook, APAR 7, 9:52 p.m. Daniel agrees to testify. Room B, 10 a.m., stay of transfer request. When I turned off the kitchen light, the new deadbolt clicked with a clean, final sound. And for the first time since Easter, I wondered which voice I'd hear Daniel use when the county clerk said, state your name for the record. Monday, April 8th, wore courthouse gray. I dressed the same. By 9:41 a.m., I was seated outside Room B in a chair that squeaked like it had heard every apology on earth. Daniel arrived at 9:46, hair combed like a boy on picture day. He held the index card. He breathed. The administrative officer, Ms. Carr, reading glasses on a chain, called us in at 10:02. The room was small, a table, a recorder, a flag, and 5 chairs that didn't forgive. Present, Ms. Carr, a county legal aide, me, Daniel, and, 5 minutes late, Lisa, eyes swollen, pearls gone, no cousin, no audience, only the sound of a clock with a second hand that meant it. This is a preliminary review, Ms. Carr said, hitting the record button. Purpose: to determine whether to stay the recorded transfer of 117 Harper Street pending full investigation. This is not a final determination of fraud. I understand, I said. Ms. Miller, she continued, you filed the deed on Feb 15. Did Ms. Gibson sign in your presence? Lisa's voice slid around the truth like oil. She gave verbal consent. We expedited paperwork for her safety. Was Ms. Gibson present with the notary? Ms. Carr asked. She was in the store, Lisa said. She stepped out to take a call. Which store? Ms. Carr asked. Downtown office. Lisa shot back too quickly. I opened the blue folder and slid the UPS notary log duplicate to the edge of the table. The journal shows Hollins Avenue at 4:12 p.m. 2 entries, mine with an ID number that isn't mine, and Lisa's right after. Line 43, line 44. I was at Mount Olive at 4:12. Livestream clip here. I tapped the flash drive. Ms. Carr accepted the printouts, scanned them, then glanced at the bank stamp photo. And this? Holland's routing stamp on a document claiming Wilkins, I said. Geography has rules. She slid the papers toward the legal aide, who whispered, then nodded. We'll request the original journal and surveillance from UPS, Ms. Carr said, and subpoena First Federal for stamp records. She turned to Daniel. Mr. Miller, please state your involvement. Daniel's voice found its adult. I changed the locks on April 7th without legal authority. I believed my wife when she said my mother had signed a quitclaim. I did not verify. I regret it and will cooperate fully. Lisa shifted in her chair, color draining. He's only saying that because she... Ms. Carr raised a hand. This room isn't for personal disputes. It's for facts. She looked at me. Do you have any audio relevant to consent? I slid a small speaker from my tote and played 13 seconds. Lisa's voice. Don't worry, he'll never check. His mom thinks Easter means forgiveness. The recorder on the table captured the room's inhale. Ms. Carr clicked her pen once. Based on preliminary review, we're issuing a stay of transfer effective today. Title remains in Gloria G. Gibson pending full investigation. You'll receive notice within 5 business days. She stamped the order, stay, provisional, and signed 10:31 a.m. in neat block letters. Lisa spoke through her teeth. You can't. She's manipulating. Ms. Carr didn't look up. Mrs. Miller, you're advised not to alter occupancy or property until resolution. Attempting to do so may result in civil or criminal penalties. I slid the stamped copy into my folder. The paper was still warm. Justice always runs a little hot when it's fresh. Outside room B, Daniel leaned against the wall, eyes closed, relief and ruin in equal parts on his face. Thank you, he said. Don't thank me, I said. Thank the timestamp. He swallowed. What do I do now? Call Officer Delaney, I said. Return any keys you still have, and when the DA calls, you answer like the man you're trying to become. He nodded, wiped his eyes with the heel of his hand. I will. The hallway smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and the future. I checked my watch, 10:38, and wrote in the notebook. April 8, stay granted, title held, subpoenas pending, 5 business days for notice. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Detective Alonzo. Ms. Gibson, he said, voice crisp. We've secured the UPS ledger and requested bank confirmation stamps. We'll also need you to identify a male relative, cap, mid-30s, on stills. I looked down the hall toward the exit, where a figure in a baseball cap paused at the glass door like he'd forgotten how doors work. And I realized some proofs don't wait for subpoenas. They walk right past you in daylight. Tuesday came in clean, with the kind of light that makes dust honest. The stay of transfer order from yesterday lay on my table, stamp still faintly warm in my memory. Stay. Provisional, 10:31 a.m., April 8. I made coffee and a list. First, locks. At 9:20 a.m. Hawkins and Reed Locksmith sent a tech named Nia, who worked like a promise, rekeyed the front, back, and cellar, added a reinforced deadbolt and a strike plate that could take a temper. Invoice, 412.67. I slid it into the blue folder under a fresh tab I labeled Restorations. Second, paper trail. By 11:05, an email arrived from UPS Corporate, acknowledging a request from Detective Alonzo and confirming the Cortez Journal had been preserved for chain of custody. At 11:42, First Federal replied to my inquiry. Routing stamp variances under review, records retained pending subpoena. Bureaucracy speaking the language I trust, procedural, dated, unsigned until it matters. Third, keys. At 1:10, Daniel stood on the porch holding a shallow box like an apology. Inside lay the old brass keys I thought I'd lost, plus a garage fob and the mailbox key. He kept his eyes down. I changed the locks, he said, voice rough. I know these don't fit anymore. I wanted you to see me putting them back in your hand anyway. Good, I said. Return is a verb. He nodded at the blue folder. The DA's office called me. They want a statement, Wednesday. Use dates, I said. Not adjectives. He managed a small, crooked smile. I wrote down April 7th for the movers, and the way Lisa said, temporary. It felt permanent. Write that, I said. At 3 hours, Officer Delaney came by to explain boundaries without handcuffs. Ms. Gibson, with the stay in place, you're within your rights to request a civil no contact regarding property management, pending resolution. Criminal charges are the DA's call. Attempted filing of a false instrument is on the table. Expect weeks, not days. Weeks I can count, I said. I have a notebook. He gave me a form and a card. If anyone tries to remove items again, call us. Don't negotiate on the porch. At 4:30, I walked to the mailbox. My nameplate was still gone. I'd left it off after Easter, a wound I'd been measuring. I wiped the steel clean, then screwed in a new plate, Gloria G. Gibson, letters dark as ink that refuses erasure. Hardware receipt, 1439s. I took a Polaroid the way some women take vitamins. At 6:12, a car idled at the curb. Lisa, eyes swollen, watched me through the windshield. She didn't step out. She just stared, then drove off. A minute later, my phone lit. Unknown number. No voicemail. Cowards often dial without speaking. I cooked collards because greens teach patience and wrote in my spiral notebook, April 9, locks changed, UPS plus bank preserving records, Daniel returned keys, DA statement set, plate restored. Then I added a line that tasted like iron and mercy at once. The stay holds, so do I. When I turned off the porch light, the new deadbolt answered with a dull, certain click, and I wondered if the house could tell the difference between silence that protects and silence that hides. Because the next sound I expected to hear was a knock I didn't owe anyone, so who would try my door first, guilt or the law? Wednesday wore that midweek fatigue cities get, tired of excuses, ready for signatures. At 10 a.m., I sat in Marla Chen's office, where the air smells like eucalyptus and enforceable promises. She read the stay of transfer line by line, then tapped a pen. "We'll file your affidavit of forgery today," she said. "I also recommend a transfer on death deed, naming your heirs, plus a no contest clause. It won't stop malice, but it will bankrupt the appetite." "Good," I said, "and I want a fund." Her eyebrow rose. "A fund?" "A house literacy fund for girls who'll carry my name forward correctly. Start with $5,000. Workshops on deeds, leases, notaries, and how to say no without raising your voice." She smiled, not like a lawyer, but like a daughter somewhere. "We'll call it the Receipts Fund," I said. By 11:40, we'd notarized the affidavit, me in the chair this time with a looped G that breathes. Marla slid a stack of copies across the desk. "Next steps. Wait for the DA's timeline. We'll monitor the county's investigation and respond to subpoenas. Realistically, several weeks. I can do slow," I said. "Slow gives truth time to set." On the way home, I stopped at Mount Olive. Pastor Harris met me in the hallway, a manila folder already in his hand. "We made copies of your one-pager," he said. 3 signs of deed fraud and how to freeze it. 50 sheets, clean font, bullet points that behave. "You want Sunday announcements?" 2 minutes, I said, with a number for the county recorder and a line about journals and IDs. "You'll have it." At 2:15, Daniel texted from the precinct lobby, "Giving statement now." At 3:02, "Done." At 3:07, he sent a photo of his empty keyring. No caption. Sometimes penance is a picture. I walked the perimeter of my little kingdom. Front walk, porch step, side gate. The strike plate held firm. The mailbox shone under its new name. In the kitchen, I retagged a clear plastic box, keys issued, returned, taped a chart inside the lid with columns for date and reason. Systems keep tenderness from bleeding out. At 4:30, the phone rang. Detective Alonzo. "Ms. Gibson, we've pulled the UPS stills. We believe the male accomplice is a relative of Mrs. Miller. We'll schedule a photo lineup Thursday. No arrests yet. These things step. They don't sprint." "Stepping is fine," I said. "My shoes are sensible." He chuckled despite himself. "You'll receive a copy of the stay order from our file, and I'll confirm when First Federal delivers stamp verification. Expect 1 to 2 weeks for the full packet." Understood. After we hung up, I set 3 engraved pens on the dining table. Maya, Zoe, Lila, wrapped in tissue. Next to them, a stapled booklet I typed last night, How Not to Lose Your Name, even to people you love. checklists, numbers, a page for practice loops of the G. At 6:05, I stood in the hallway where the family photos used to hang. I'd left the wall bare on purpose, primer patch showing like a healed scar. From the cabinet, I lifted a shadow box. Inside, a copy of the 1998 deed, a photocopy of the April 8 stay, and the 1439 hardware receipt for the new nameplate. Legacy isn't just faces, it's proof. The doorbell rang. 2 civil, measured chimes. Officer Delaney, hat in hand. "Just checking," he said. "We logged Sunday's moving attempt. If anyone comes again, call dispatch. Don't dialogue." "I don't bargain on porches anymore," I said. "Only sign." He nodded. "Good night, Ms. Gibson." "Good night, officer." When the door closed, the house breathed with me. I wrote in the spiral notebook, April 10, affidavit filed, TOD deed planned, receipts fund set, church handout printed, lineup tomorrow, DA packet 1 to 2 weeks. I capped my pen and listened to the refrigerator hum, the same pitch as a courtroom recorder when truth is finally the loudest thing in the room. And as I switched off the hall light, my phone lit with a new voicemail. No caller ID, a woman's breath, then a whisper, "You'll choke on that stay." I smiled into the dark because fear always tries the doorknob last. So whose hand would meet mine first tomorrow? The law's or the cousin's in a cap? Thursday's lineup took place in a beige room that smelled like dry erase and caution. Detective Alonzo slid the photo sheet across the table. 5 faces, 1 cap. I didn't rush. Women my age have learned how to let silence work. I tapped number 3. "Marcus," I said. "Thanksgiving 2022. Carve the turkey like it owed him rent." The detective circled it, signed 11:18 a.m., and thanked me for remembering what men forget to be ashamed of. By afternoon, the church office rang. "Sunday announcements confirmed," Pastor Harris said. 2 minutes after the second hymn, I printed 50 more handouts, 3 signs of deed fraud and how to freeze it. Bullet points that stand straighter than most apologies. Friday, an email from First Federal. Preliminary confirmation. Routing stamp 073119 belongs exclusively to Hollins Avenue. We will produce authenticated records upon subpoena. I stapled it behind the bank stamp photo. Paper likes its family together. On Saturday, I opened the receipts fund with $5,000, account number neat and ordinary. The clerk asked for a description. I wrote, "House literacy for girls who keep their own names." He looked up like he'd just learned what literacy could mean. Sunday, April 14th, Mount Olive buzzed. Foil pans, hymns, the sound of children trying to outrun their shoes. After the second hymn, Pastor nodded me forward. I kept it simple. "If someone asks you to sign in a hurry," I said into the mic, "bring a friend named Timestamp. Ask for the journal. Read your name like it owes you money." Laughter, then that hum churches make when truth fits the room. I held up the handout. "This is for your refrigerator. If you don't need it, your sister will." After service, 3 women pressed my hands. Sharon with a story about her aunt's mortgage, Inez about a nephew who handles everything, Tanya about a cousin with a van and no title. I wrote dates on their bulletins and told them where to start. One by one, they exhaled. Relief looks like posture correcting itself. Monday, April 15th, taxes due. I wore a white blouse I'd ironed twice and carried the blue folder like a prayer book. At First Federal, Wilkins, the clerk stamped paid €4, 15 to 24, €9, 41 on my $3,276 bill, and at my request, stamped a copy for the shadow box. Ceremony matters when ink has been on trial. Back home, the house smelled like lemon oil and staying. I set 3 engraved pens on the table, Maya, Zoe, Lila, and a small booklet, How Not to Lose Your Name, Even to People You Love. The girls arrived with ribbons half untied and questions that came out like birds. We ate mac and cheese hot enough to preach. Then I handed them each a pen. "These are not for boys," I said. "Not for apologies. For you. You read before you sign. You ask before you hand over. You call me before you doubt yourself." Maya nodded like a judge. Zoe practiced her loop. Lila drew a castle with a door big enough for a woman carrying a blue folder. When they left, Daniel came with a storm door still in its box and the careful quiet of a man who knows he owes time. We installed it together. No speeches, screws, hinge, latch, the kind of work that says sorry correctly. Evening settled. I hung the shadow box in the hallway. 1998 deed, the April 8 stay, the April 15 tax receipt, and a photo I took of the new mailbox plate. Gloria G. Gibson. Legacy doesn't smile for a camera, it keeps the paperwork. My phone buzzed. Detective Alonzo. Bank cooperation confirmed. Charges moving. Expect updates in 1-2 weeks. I thanked him and put the phone face down. Some waiting you do sitting, some you do standing in your own doorway. I locked the new deadbolt, my deadbolt, set the keys in their metal box, and wrote the last line in my spiral. April 15. Taxes paid. Fund opened. Girls signed their first names. Storm door hung. House remembers me. The kitchen light clicked off, and the window held my reflection steady. A woman who didn't shout, who documented, who stayed. And as the night pressed its ear to the glass, I smiled at the door that knew my code again. Because this is my house, my deed, my name, and I can prove every inch of it. If this story gave you strength, help us by sharing, liking, and hitting the notification bell. We'd love to hear in the comments which part of the story you liked most. See you tomorrow.